Welcome to Everything Digital Health. I'm Marcus Bohr, and this is Nadia Kuftinoff. We thought we'd just record a slightly unusual episode today, just addressing the fairly shock announcement a couple of weeks ago that NHS England is going to be abolished, which has, of course, got huge implications for digital health, but quite importantly, it's got some serious implications for all the people who work at NHS England and in ICBs and through the entire rest of the digital health and clinical workforce. So we thought we'd just talk about that a little bit and see what we thought about the abolition and its knock-on effects. So I'll let you start, Nadia, because this is something that affects you directly, isn't it?
Yes, it does. So I work at an integrated care board, and our journey to here is actually quite a long one. So when I first joined my ICB, we went through a consultation period, which for the most part, the Digital Data and Technology Directorate that I was a part of wasn't impacted by that, because people had just been recruited into roles and we had our little structure. So we were largely left alone, although there was a lot of unrest in the rest of the ICB, as you can imagine. And they were still in their infancy of formation and kind of developing who they were and what they were doing. So all a bit topsy-turvy. Then pretty much immediately after that, we went into another consultation period. And this time it was organisation-wide. So nobody was able to claim that they shouldn't be affected by that. So that took place over the space of a year. And it was pretty brutal. There were a lot of things that got changed around. Lots of roles either changed in terms of the funding streams that they were aligned to. So teams got split up in different ways. There were some voluntary redundancies. There were lots of internal changes, which they're still being figured out, actually. So it was called a change program, and the change program came to an end, and the consultation period ended at the start of this year. So we were told, go into your new posts and your new roles, if that's applicable to you, at the start of January 2025. It's now the end of March 2025, and some people still aren't quite where they need to be, or their voluntary redundancy hasn't happened yet. So we're still in a period of transition in many ways. And for me personally, the last 3 months have been a really rough ride, because there was some legacy projects that didn't really have anywhere to go in the new structure with the new operating model. So I was taking care of some legacy work as well as being expected to do new role work, and just got completely overwhelmed because there wasn't any more resource or support for that particular project. So this is a very personal story from my experience that I've been going through. I've had a really horrible 3 months of just trying to transition into our post-consultation roles and structure, and understanding what new work I'll be taking on. So went on annual leave, came back and was like, right, clean slate, new role stuff, all sorted out. All the old role stuff has been taken care of. And then we started to hear about the big, huge national changes that were happening. So first it was NHS England is being cut by 50%. And I was just like, oh my God, that is a big deal. I felt so bad for my NHS colleagues and friends. I just thought this is going to cause chaos, because we're still feeling the ramifications of the last big, huge merger that happened, I feel. So that's a lot of unrest. Then we heard that integrated care boards were going to be cut by 50%. And I found out in an email one morning. And we had an all-staff briefing where our CEO explained to us all the information that was basically already in the email. As of right now, I don't believe that has been confirmed to our CEO in writing even. So
it's all just verbal from briefings that they've had.
Verbal briefings. Yeah. The CEO's found out in a surprise way. What I'm hearing is that a lot of people were shocked. There was rumors and rumbles of things happening, and then it happened, and we're not prepared. We're still trying to figure out what we're going to do. So integrated care boards, there's still a little bit of confusion about whether we have to reduce running costs or if it's workforce costs, but it's likely that even if it is running costs, there will still be a ramification of the workforce in that scenario anyway. And it has to be 50%. It seems to be that's just across the board for all integrated care boards. There's no allowance for the bigger ICBs or the smaller ICBs or anything like that. It's just a blanket. That's what's happening. There's some confusion around like when these changes are supposed to take place. So is it October? Is it December? So that hasn't really been explained properly yet. And we're still waiting for guidance on what needs to happen. So already we're hearing things about, okay, so maybe integrated care boards are going to merge together. So we've got a neighboring ICB, which has got a slightly smaller population than ours. So, and we have like a shared care record with them, and there's lots of patient flows that go to and from our integrated care boards. So would it make sense for us to merge into one big integrated care board? In which case, do we look at 50% of that workforce and running costs, or are we still looking in terms of like, there's been no guidance about like exactly how we go about making these changes?
It's all such early days, and there's no official word really, and even CEOs are in the dark. No one can tell anyone.
I think they were literally in the dark. I think they were in a windowless basement room at the time that the news broke. Off. Yeah. They were all in a meeting and they all found out all together. And yeah, so there's a lot of uncertainty for me personally, and for my integrated care board. We've just come out of a really rough time, and I was just starting to think like, okay, that's been really tough, but at least we can just like crack on now and make the best of it. And now we're just completely up in the air again. Like, it's horrid.
I really do feel for everybody who's in these kind of situations, because it's going to affect, as a knock-on, huge shockwave through everything in England, and even possibly outside of that, because some organizations, there will be suppliers who are from all over the world, really, potentially, who aren't going to have certainty about whether they're still contracted and where their funding streams are going to be flowing to. There's people working in ICBs. There are all the other related arm's length bodies, which, even if they aren't already folded into NHS England and therefore part of the same reforms, that any of them that are outside of that are also going to be quite rightly concerned that the hammer's going to fall on them soon. And with all that going on, trying to do your normal job must feel very dissociative. It's like, what is even the point of doing this? You get up, you do the Teams meetings, you write the documents, you try and do the things that you're supposed to be doing, working on the projects that you're involved in, without knowing if those projects will even exist in 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years.
Yeah, I should be delighted right now, because a piece of work that I've been assigned to take care of is essentially the recommendations from my dissertation. So I did a Master of Science in Digital Health Leadership, and the dream has become realized. Like, the things that I said, oh, we should be doing this, and the reason why I kind of decided to try and get a job at an integrated care board to do the things that I said that we should do. Like, it's finally happening. There is a part of me which is really, really, really excited. There's a part of me that is ecstatic that I'm finally doing this piece of work. But there's a huge part of me that, like, it's like a wave crashing, and it's just the reminder that this is all happening, and there's so much uncertainty, and we don't know anything, and we're in for like a terrible couple of months, and it just all bears down on me in one big swoop. And it's making it really difficult for me to be excited about my job and my work and being in digital health. And I'm scared, like, if I have to take voluntary redundancy, I'm not allowed to apply for a job in the NHS for 6 months. And that's like my worst nightmare. Like, I love working in digital health. I love working for the NHS. I've been working, I'm a baby in terms of the NHS. I've only been working in it for like 8.5 years, but that's still a really long time. That's 8.5 years of my life. And like my, the Master of Science that I did, and all of the external activities around digital health that I take part in, like, I like to say to people, like, when I first meet them, if you break me in half, I say digital health all the way through me like a stick of rock. And that is true. And now my whole world that I care about so much is in jeopardy, and I still have to keep going. I still have to turn up at work and do the things, and I want to be able to do the things, but I've already had like a really tough few months, and now there's more tough times ahead. and I just feel so anxious about it all of the time, and so disheartened, and it's a horrible position to be in. And I can't be the only one, and I really feel for all of my colleagues who are going through the same thing.
I think it's going to be affecting hundreds of thousands of people. It's a huge change, and I think the way it was done hasn't been that helpful, in that most major organizational restructure like this happens as a result of a plan, might even have been primary legislation, and so there's a kind of game plan for how it's going to happen, and it might happen over several years, whereas the ICBs have been told to slash themselves by half by the end of this year. I think it's Q3, so a financial quarter, so it'd be kind of October, November type thing, but it has to be done by then. Even the NHS England reforms aren't actually that aggressive, because although it's going to be abolished as an organisation, its functions will still have to be transferred, and most of the things it does will have to carry on. So those functions will be transferred into the Department of Health and Social Care, and that transition period is 2 or 3 years, I think they're estimating. So that, obviously, it's another brutal change, but there is at least a feeling that that's happening over a period of time. And with there being no information, it's very difficult to plan. Yeah,
it is. And it's difficult for people to support each other as well, because we're all in the same boat, and the managers and the leaders in our organization are just at a loss for words, because what can anyone say?
There's nothing to say, is there? And they can't give you any more information. And when you've got that level of job cuts, no one's really safe, because it doesn't matter how exemplary you are as an employee, and how productive you are, and how capable you are. If the organization has to be cut, and entire teams are going, and your team is going, then you're gone, which is really, it must be incredibly difficult. And it's just all exploded really in the past couple of weeks, isn't it?
It has, and people are going through what you would expect them to. It's like ups and downs, ebbs and flows. Not every day is awful. Not every moment is brilliant. But I think my advice would be for people just to keep trying your best, and don't be so hard on yourself. Like, your best might differ from day to day, but do whatever you can in a single day.
Yeah.
And also join a union.
Good advice. I think a sad side effect of this is that I think some of our best people across the whole health and care economy of England will leave. They'll either, if they can, leave to another devolved nation perhaps, or they'll move into the private sector, or they might leave healthcare entirely to do something else. And that would be a real shame when we've cultivated a community of great people, and for there to be such a sweeping change. It's not to say that change isn't necessary, or that this change won't turn out to have some upsides, but it's the way it's been done that I think has created the maximum uncertainty with a minimum information, and that's a really unpleasant place for everyone to be stuck.
Yeah, just a plan would have been good. Yeah. I think just some idea of, we're going to get that information eventually about, like, okay, here's some guidance, like, yes, you should think about merging with another integrated care board, and here is what your new operating model will look like, and here are the priorities, and here's an idea of the things that can be cut and shouldn't be cut and won't be cut, like that kind of stuff. But I'm sure that will come and will help, but having the rug pulled out from underneath you with absolutely nothing for an undisclosed period of time, that is obviously going to cause uncertainty and anxiety. And I can see that, everything is happening for reasons, and good ones, hopefully. And, things do need to change, and there needs to be a shake-up and stuff like that. But is this the best way to do it? Without any reasoning behind it, I can't sit here and say, oh, okay, this is fine then, everything's great, it's all going to be okay, because ultimately people are also going to lose their jobs, and that is never a nice thing to go through. So I believe in developing and improving the NHS, but I also am afraid for my livelihood, and taking people out of the NHS who have worked there for forever and are contributing and working on valuable things. Is it? I don't know if it's the right thing to do yet, because it hasn't happened. But I do know that this could have been done in a better way. Like, this isn't the best way to make it happen. Like, at least give people something to work with and something to kind of hold on to.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I think that's all well put. Thank you for being so frank with us and for sharing all that with the channel. And hopefully, you know, if that's been helpful to anybody, then we'd be very pleased to hear from you. If you've been affected by it and you want to talk about it, then give us a shout, and we can maybe have you on and talk about how it's affected you. And obviously, all stick by each other and support each other, and try and put value into the things that you think are going to last as well. So worrying less about organizations and worrying less about targets, and look after yourself a little bit. We'll leave it at that for today. But I think this is, as the situation evolves, we will come back to this and maybe talk more in depth about the way it's affecting NHS staff. Thanks so much, and we'll see you in the next one.